David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. I like it when I am surprised by a pen, especially one from a company which is new to me. I have spoken recently about how Chinese brands have done a very good job in increasing the quality of their offerings, and the same could be said for some brands producing pens in India as well, mainly small independent manufacturers. When I got started in this hobby, the pens coming out of India were a bit of lesser quality and even have a distinctive smell. I'll call it an odor because it wasn't necessarily a pleasant smell. But lately, I've had the opportunity to test out a few pens from smaller Indian manufacturers and have been significantly impressed. The pen I have to share with you today is from a brand named Vazir. Vazir is a fairly new company launched in 2020, and they have a goal of producing premium writing instruments at an affordable price. Now, a lot of companies say that, but Vazir is actually holding true to their goal. While I typically talk about price near the end of a review, in this case, I wanted to mention it up front. The model I have to share with you today is called the Meteor Shower, and it retails for $125. And it's one of the best pens I've seen in that price range for a very long time. In addition, this pen is equipped with a bit of an upgrade, a hand-engraved nib. I'll discuss the additional cost for this custom feature later, but I feel it's reasonably priced as well. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of this unique offering, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to the good folks at Vazir for providing this pen for review. Okay, in order to get a closer look at this intriguing offering, please join me over here at camera 2. So here we have a look at the Vazir Meteor Shower. First of all, it does arrive in this very nice wooden box with a faux leather cover. It's just a higher quality box than normal. It just doesn't feel like something that's disposable. And inside, we have a couple of things. There is a little bit of information here and information on the website. They do have kind of a chess theme on a lot of their nibs and things like that. And then inside we have a pouch. Let me set everything aside. And inside the pouch we have a pen. This is the Vazir Meteor Shower, and there's a lot going on here. First of all, this pen is made from celluloid. As I mentioned previously, it's handcrafted in India, and I think the celluloid just has a really interesting kind of stacked look, but it is varying in the direction. So sometimes here, I really like that look right there, that cool look right there, but then other parts of it are a little bit thicker. And then there's some side-to-side variance as well when it comes to parts up like here. And so overall, I think it just has a really interesting look to it. Here at the end, it has the name of the company. It says Vazir. In regard to the parts and features, you can see here that the end of the cap is rounded and then it angles up until about this portion where it straightens out. We do have this gold colored clip. It does have a wheel on it, and it is rather stiff, but this wheel does help it accommodate materials of varying thicknesses. I'd say there's a medium step down to the barrel, which immediately begins tapering down at an even rate of decline, and at the end, the very end is rounded. The cap twists off with 2 full rotations, and underneath we have something that's really special with this pen, and that is this number 6 stainless steel Yovo nib, which has been engraved. First of all, this nib is available in fine, medium, broad, and a 1.1 stub, and that would be the standard nib. And then also, for an additional cost, you can go ahead and get one of these nibs engraved. Let's see how close we can get there. This thing is just amazing. Now, I had mentioned before that the cost of the pen was $125, and to get one of these nibs engraved, the nib is $110 on its own. And I feel that that's a reasonable price, considering the fact that if you put both of these together, having this price for this pen with this engraved nib at $225 is very, very cool. But I just really like the patterning on there, and that I just think that adds a lot to this pen. I really like on the side, there's the dimpling that you can see. There's just a lot of work that goes into this. Now, if you look at it really close with a loop, you can see some slight imperfections as far as, you know, you get slight tooling marks and things like that. And part of that, first of all, it's not visible to the naked eye. You really have to get a loop in order to see those. But then it also reminds me that these are handcrafted by a person as opposed to created by a machine. And little tiny things like that make me remember that an actual person, an artisan, was involved in the creation of this. But I do think that it adds a lot to this pen and looks amazing. And then there is the plastic feed. In regard to the section, it starts with a small ring here and then angles up. And then it has the cap threads, and I'd say a medium-sized step up to the remainder of the barrel. This pen is plenty long enough to use unposted. The cap does post, and it does post securely, and it's fairly light, so I don't feel it backweights the pen or throws off the balance. And then plus I like seeing some of that extra material up there, that it's nice. And this transition here isn't sharp, so even if it rubs up against your hand, that it's not going to be uncomfortable at all. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges, and a converter is provided. I think with the solid construction here, if you use some silicone grease and maybe an O-ring there, that eyedropping potentially is possible. Maybe you'd want to try it first, but it seems like something that possibly could be done there. The Vazir Meteor Shower is available on the Vazir website. I'll put a link to it in the notes below. But as I said, at $125 for the pen itself, I think that's an extremely good bargain and a good value proposition. And personally, that I would also add that extra nib for $110. So a $225 pen with that amazing engraved nib, I think is a fairly reasonable price for what you receive. And like I said, it's something that really surprised me, because I like this material. I like the addition of that engraved nib, and as you'll see here in a minute, it performs nicely as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at some measurements, and then we'll do some size comparisons and get to a writing sample with that spectacular nib. So here we go with some size comparisons for the Vazir Meteor Shower. First of all, I have another pen from Vazir that I will be reviewing here in a little bit, and this one is called the Horizon. This is an enormous pen. It might be one of the largest pens in my collection, but I just thought that the resin on this looked amazing, and it just had a really neat kind of sunset look to it. Now, we'll get to it, but one of the things that I wish is this has a number 6 nib on it. It was such a large pen. It would have been nice if this was a number 8, but this one has the chess piece symbolism, which for their standard stainless steel nibs, that's the engraving that's on those nibs. So if you purchase one of these without that engraved nib, then you would receive one that looks very similar to this. But it's a very large pen. It barely fits in the screen here, and that's what it looks like in comparison to the Meteor Shower. In regard to a couple of other pens, here it is with a Pilot Vanishing Point. And then here it is with one of my favorite pens I've reviewed recently, which is the Esterbrook King of the Night. Just the resin on this is just amazing, and I really like the look and feel of this particular pen. I think this is one of the best Esterbooks that I've ever reviewed. I just think it was a complete package, and I love the theme of it as well. And that's what it looks like in comparison to the Vazir. In regard to some other pens, here it is with a Visconti Homo Sapiens. And then, as I mentioned before, that there's been a lot of high-quality pens coming out of India, and I have two that I'll be reviewing here in the future, and they both are from Arushu Studios, India, which does some great work. and that this is one of their models, and this is a nice ebonite. And then here is one of their urushi models as well. And that the artisan behind this does some fantastic work with a variety of different urushi styles. So I look forward to showing you those as well. And like I said, I've been impressed with a lot of work coming out of India lately. In regard to some uncapped comparisons, here it is with the Homo sapiens and with the Esterbrook. And then here it is with the other Vazir, the Horizon. You can see that that's a significantly larger pen. Okay, here we go with the writing sample for the Vazir. And this is the Meteor Shower. This is a medium stainless steel nib. And the ink I'm using is one of my favorites, which is Diamine Communication Breakdown. I've mentioned this several times before, but that a German retailer came out with a line of rock and roll themed Diamine inks, Communication Breakdown being one of them, which is a song from Led Zeppelin. And not only do I love Led Zeppelin, but I do enjoy this ink as well. And it's really nice, kind of brownish red with some nice sheen to it. This is what it looks like in comparison to Levenger Pomegranate, as well as Mont Blanc's William Shakespeare Velvet Red. It's a little bit darker than that. These are what these standard 80 milliliter bottles look like for Diamine. And that, yeah, like I mentioned, there's a lot of good inks in this rock and roll series, so that I encourage you to seek them out. And here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I find that this nib is very pleasant to use. It has a little bit of feedback to it. I wouldn't describe it as glossy smooth. And I don't think that the engraving has really any effect on the nib whatsoever in regard to performance. I would say that the ink flow is, I would say, medium to low. And in regard to reverse writing, it does lay down an extra fine line. And in regard to some fast writing, the feed keeps up just fine. You know what? I wanted to give you another look at that nib. This nib is just really, really cool. I just think that that engraving on there and that floral pattern just really gives it a special look to it. So there we have the Vazir Meteor Shower. I think I've raved about this pen enough for today, but I feel that it's something that's worth it because it brings something a little bit different to the table. And then even including that engraved nib just makes it that much more special. As I mentioned, I'll put a link to their website in the notes below, and I encourage you to check it out. Okay, until next time, thanks for watching, and I talk to you later.